Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another SuperCoach AFL live show. Al Paton here with Matt Forrest. A couple of weeks off. Thank you, Dossie, for filling in last week, but we've got the band back together today. So, Foz, great to have you back on for a big Anzac Day round of footy. Feels like last round only finished a day or two ago.
I know. Isn't it great that we've got footy on a Monday and then we only have to wait till Thursday for the next round to start? Very exciting. It doesn't leave much time to make your trades and SuperCoach and make some decisions, which is a little bit daunting. But I think I've settled in with my trades, which is exciting.
Yeah, me too. So just relying on one or two players doing what we think they're going to do and get one Carlton rookie getting picked for starters. If that somehow didn't happen, it'd throw everything into chaos for a lot of super coaches out there, I think. But fingers crossed we won't get any surprises there when we get to the teams. And we may as well jump in straight away with the Thursday night game, which is in just an hour's time. The Tigers and the Demons, two teams coming off a win. And there wasn't really any big news in terms of SuperCoach, I don't think, from the when it comes to the ins and outs. Hang on, we'll get it up on the screen there. A few changes at the Ds, a couple of decent ins for them, but I don't think anything that's going to affect us too much in SuperCoach. The rookies that we want are sort of are there, or if you've still got a Jack Henderson, he's not there, so you could get rid of him if you wanted to. And a couple at the Tigers, obviously Bolter not available. They've got personal reasons there. But probably the one that we're just hanging out for is to hear the sub to make sure it's not Luke Traynor this week. But Adam Uze did assure us that it will be someone else.
Yeah, Melbourne's confirmed that Sharp will be the sub for the Ds, so that's good. Just waiting on the Tigers now. But he said no Traynor, which is great. For me, I'm trading him out regardless. I can't wait around to see him make a cash in 3 weeks' time. But it's good that Xavier Lindsay's avoided the best. There was a little bit of talk of it during the last couple of days, but he's managed to avoid it, which is great.
Yeah, hopefully he can. He had that week off with the knee, and he hasn't been the same player that he was in those first couple of really, really good games. So, but tonight I reckon it's a chance for him to potentially bounce back. And I'm with you with Traynor. I think his scoring actually will be quite good. Probably I'd be more confident with him than a Zach Reid in terms of getting a 70 or an 80 most weeks. But just the fact that he's not going to be making any money for 2 or 3 rounds, and we need these guys to be making cash so we can use that to make our upgrades. So I'm keeping Reid and trading Traynor. But if we jump into the 2 Anzac Day games, the first one, the Pies, Dan Houston back, Membry back, Lockie Sullivan and Darcy Moore out, which we heard yesterday. Mason Cox omitted and Ed Allen. And for the Bombers, Todd Goldstein is back, the 37, I think, year-old ruckman. I don't know what his SuperCoach price is, but so he'll be rucking for them in the absence of every other ruckman that they've got. Draper obviously did his Achilles last week, and Sardell Hawley, after being the sub 3 weeks in a row, has been omitted. So as much as anything, it's probably so we can go back and play a full game in the VFL.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's I don't know what else Elijah Sardis, needs to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's been the emergency. I think that's 3 weeks in a row now. But I know that Brad Scott said that finger injury was still getting better and better, and they were sort of just waiting for it to be fully healed. So maybe it's just not fully healed, and he could play if required, but he's obviously not getting a game at the moment. So it's unfortunate. It's just if he's still sitting on your bench, do you cut ties or do you just keep holding on and hope he gets a game soon?
I mean, at some stage you kind of have to use the money, don't you? So, and maybe it depends what the rest of your bench looks like. But I think I'd be tempted to pull the pin. Although it gets, once you've done it for this long, you feel like eventually he's going to come back and he's going to be all right. So it's, it's hard. I'm just seeing Richmond is named their sub, and it's Tom Brown, which is a little bit of a surprise. Yeah, I think he's had a really good year. I mean, maybe they're just, it's a matter of managing all the younger guys, but I guess Traynor potentially takes his spot in the back line, but at least he dodges it. But that's an interesting call from the Tigers. And of course, the second Anzac Day game over in Perth, we've got Freo taking on the Crows, which should be a good one. Quinton Narkle in for his debut for the Dockers. They got him right at the end of the SSP period. I'd have to check his price. It'd be cheap, but his scoring last year wasn't great, along with Chapman and Wagner, and the outs are Aish, O'Meara, Banfield, so nothing that's going to hurt us too much in SuperCoach there, I don't think. And for the Crows, Rochelle back, which is great for them, and Peatling back after a suspension. And Fogarty and Berry are out. So I don't think there's anything huge there that we need to worry about, is there?
No, nothing super exciting in terms of, I guess, SuperCoach relevancy. Yeah, I guess we can just move on. The Crows are the same every week. They just,
Yeah,
same
true.
good plays, same bad plays. It's just, just cruising. That'll be a good game, though.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Now, the Saints and Brisbane, I'm a little bit surprised by the way Ross Lyon, his mood after this game. I thought there might be 10 changes. They were so bad, St Kilda last week, but only the couple. Duke Howard back. Sean Macker's out if anyone's got him, but no Hugh Boxall. I thought this would be a good chance for him to get a debut, but no Harry Boyd, so we've got a loop there potentially. Max Hall, my man, hangs in, but, maybe potential sub. I think he's just about maxed out in terms of how much money he's going to make, but he's been a good rookie pick for us so far this year. Jack Steele's the other one that I don't know what's going on with him. He's he's losing a heap of money in Supercoach. I wouldn't be touching him until we know he's turned the corner, but yeah, it's a worry. And for the Lions, Kai Loman back and Sam Marshall goes straight out. So I guess that's good for Jimmy Tunstall. Keeps his spot. He's a rookie price, I think 119K mid forward who I would not bring in this week after one game. But if he goes all right again this week and he dodges the sub, which is going to be a worry for him. But if he gets some decent game time, scores okay, he could be a rookie option for us next week, which there's not many others around. So yeah, fingers crossed he does right.
Well, I know that obviously the sub can come from anywhere on field or off field, but looking at that bench, I don't see them naming any of those other 5 guys as a sub. Tunstall sort of sticks out to me, unfortunately. So it might be a bit of a worry.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, the rookie crisis, they called it on the Phantom's Lair, is here. There's not a lot at this stage of the year. And, when we want to be making a downgrade and an upgrade, we'll be scratching around for someone. So obviously see if there's any other debutantes this week. But the next game, Port Adelaide taking on North Melbourne over there. Couple of changes there for Port. Joe Richards is back. He was laid out last week. Finn Layson, we haven't seen him for a few weeks. And Joe Berry, who some people might have held on their bench. Rory Atkins straight back out. Tommy Cochran, he's injured. That's a bit unfortunate. And Boak out injured as well. I think, we'll talk to some captains later, but there's a couple of options in this game, I think, the way North's going. And they've brought in Dawson, Archer and Hardiman for Core, Logue and Zach Fisher, who's done a hammy. So, again, no SuperCoach carnage to speak of. Harry Sheasel named at half forward. What's going on with a lot of these North players? LDU's having a really, pretty underwhelming year. McKercher hasn't done a lot. The one player that we at least got back into some form last week was Cherry. But any insights into what the Kangas are doing, Matt?
I hope that I don't know. Honestly, it's painful to watch. Unfortunately, hopefully they can start turning it around. They've obviously focused on the defensive side of things to change this week. They're bringing in 3 new defenders to replace 3 of the older defenders. That like Logue has been average this year. I thought Core has been decent, but obviously giving a crack to Cullen Dawson. They've gone a little bit smaller, and Hardiman comes in as well as that potential rebounding type as well. So I guess Hardiman in sort of rules out that Shees will go into the half back line and helping out there. Caleb Daniel he's great for our SuperCoach sides, but he's getting found out defensively just because of his sheer size, and their midfield is not stopping the ball from going in. So it's hopefully something can turn and quickly for the Roos, because it's not fun viewing at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think they've been through plenty, so yeah, they would deserve a bit of a change of luck. Now, Giants and Bulldogs, the old traditional rivals in Canberra here. Used to be the old sort of Toby Green versus the Bont get into each other. Well, I suppose that could happen again. They're both Bont's back in it now, so there's a chance. But just the one change for the Giants. Hogan back, Brown omitted, and Connor Stone just keeps on keeping his spot and getting his sort of break even by about 5 points each week and just going up a couple of grand. But as long as he's there, he's still playing and he's still a chance to make a little bit of money. And over at the Dogs, yeah, and yeah, he's a handy little DPP swing, so I'm not planning on getting rid of him anytime soon. A few changes at the Dogs. Obviously, Sam Darcy, the big one, just really terrible news, although I suppose at least he dodged the ACL. But, just the way he was travelling, it was just really, really fun to watch, especially if you're smart enough to pick him in SuperCoach, which I wasn't, but he was a fantastic pick, so that was really unlucky. And a couple of ins, probably the most interesting one for us is Bustlinger, who's been on the list for a couple of years, I think, hasn't he? A pretty high draft pick, finally gets a debut. He's a 119K defender. So when I talk about next week and the next week or two we'll be looking for downgrades. He's one. Hopefully, you can get a few games together.
Yeah, I think he's the last first rounder from 3 years ago to debut. So, just key defender from WA is intercepting King during his under-18 year, and obviously stuck behind some seriously good players at the Bulldogs. But Liam Jones getting dropped he's at a slender start to the year, so it doesn't surprise me too much. But it's good that he's finally getting his chance.
Yeah. And into the Sunday games, we've got Gold Coast hoping to bounce back from that Richmond defeat, taking on the Swans. Pardon me. So we've got extended squads here, which is going to get interesting, I think, when we get through some of these games. A few wins there. Braden Fiorini, who I think had about 50 possessions in the VFL last week, comes in. And, we don't have too many Gold Coast players, do we? So that's okay. And now over at the Swans, Ben Paton maybe gets back in. Laddams and Sheldrick sort of some classic extended bench fillers there, including Patton. So we'll see if he makes the final team. Caden Cleary named last on the extended bench. Hopefully he keeps his spot. I brought him in last week, along with plenty of others. But one thing to note in this game is looking at some of the matchup numbers. Gold Coast gives up a lot of points. I think the most in the comp to opposition sort of running defenders. And so, if you held on to Matty Roberts, hopefully people did. And Robert Boyce too, who's extended bench. That's not ideal.
It's
but
been
hopefully
a couple of years, though. A couple of weeks, though. So I'm not too fussed about it.
He starts, and good chance for those guys to rack up some points. But Cleary's, I'm a little bit nervous about that one.
Yeah, I think so. Aaron Francis named on field as well after his last quarter heroics last week, so that's exciting for him. I think Bice should hold his spot. Corey Warner's played every game this year as well. Cleary's been pretty good for the Swans. So, hopefully he can hold his spot for the guys that picked him. But I don't see, Ben Patton's been killing it in the VFL, but I just don't see a position where he comes in and replaces Bice. Bice has been super impressive in that back six.
They've got a few players of that type, but hard to get back in. Now, to extended benches, this is going to be interesting because we've got Carlton taking on the Cats, 3 ins. So Harry Mackay's back, Doherty's in, Lockie Cowan is back in. Now, he was supposed to be injured for a couple more weeks. So that makes it very interesting. Where is our man Matt Carroll? There he is. He's on the extended bench. So we'll find out about 5:30 tomorrow if he makes the final cut. He's first on the extended bench, if you read anything into that. Cowan, Doherty also on the extended bench. Do you reckon they'll do the right thing by us, Matt?
I think if I was to guess, the bench that they take in will be Carroll, Akers, White, Hollins, and Cowan, and I reckon they'll leave Lord, Doherty, and Young out of the side. Young is definitely going to be out, but they for some reason they don't seem to like Cooper Lord too much. They keep dropping him or recalling him, dropping him, putting him as the sub. So I think the first 4 and then Cowan are going to be the final 5. It then becomes a concern whether it's Carroll as the sub or if they put Elijah Hollins I think would be a chance for the sub after his recent return to the AFL level. So, but that's, what do I know? I'm no doctor.
If the worst happened and Carroll wasn't named tomorrow night, or say we find out he's the sub at about 2:30 on Sunday, it's probably too late to do anything then. But would you, reverse trades, or we just have to cross our fingers and hope he gets some game time?
Well, I'm trading out Trainer for him, so I don't know if I can actually do that, unfortunately. I'd look to swing, a different rookie in if there was someone around the same price that was debuting on Sunday. There might be one if you scroll down a little bit further, but he's a forward eligible player. In saying that, I don't love trading in someone who has played 0 games and he's playing for one of the best teams in the AFL. So that's the one concern that I would have. Yeah,
so you're talking about, I assume, is it Ollie Wiltshire? I can't remember. Yeah,
Ollie Wiltshire.
I think he's been on the extended bench before this year, but hasn't actually played yet.
He's been on the extended bench almost every week this season. He's a small forward, kicks a whole bag of goals in the VFL. He's been quite inaccurate, unfortunately. He's kicked like a 3-5 and a 4-4 and things like that. But he's come from the Bellarine Football League down in Geelong, local lad. it's actually the level below that Tom Stewart graduated from when he got drafted. So similar sort of pathway into the AFL, but he's 22 years old, I think, from memory. Got a really smart footy brain. There was a 2-week patch last year that essentially got him drafted where he had 50 touches in the first week playing in the midfield, and then he kicked 13 goals the next week playing in the forward line. So very good footballer at the local level. It's just whether it can convert. But obviously Brian Myers will miss through concussion. Ollie Henry's been pretty light on for his impact in games, so he might come under the scope of being dropped. Machine Mullen was rotated out or rested, late change, whatever you want to call it, last week, so he might come back in. But Duncan and Clark haven't really been. Well, Duncan hasn't featured at all for the Cats this year, and Clark's been in and out of the side, so he doesn't really fit the mould of a Grind Myers anyway. So Wiltshire, off the back of the 4 that are named, makes the most sense. So I'm excited to see him potentially get a crack in an AFL game. It'll probably be as a sub, knowing Chris Scott, though.
Yeah, no, I just looked him up. He's 119k mid forward actually in Supercoach, so that's nice. Might be tricky trying to swing some DBBs or something if we have to cover for Carroll, but at least
you're kind of stone, swing him.
Yeah, that's true actually. Forward, yeah, you're right. But might give us a name for it, in the next week or two, which we definitely want. And Nevitt's stuck there on the extended bench as well, so he sort of really dropped off after a pretty promising start to the year. You could probably trade him out if you needed to. But now the last game of the round, the Mighty Hawks, obviously, Foz coming up against West Coast. And, I'm looking for Henry Huswaite is on the extended bench. I know the Phantom is saying he's trading him in this week, just sort of sight unseen based on his huge VFL numbers and the fact that there's a spot in the midfield with Connor Nash out for a few weeks. So I'll get your thoughts on that in a second and some of these other changes. McDonald, McGuinness, Ginnivan back potentially, but again, all on the extended bench.
Yeah, I think Huswaite is all but locked into that Connor Nash role. I don't think he'll get full midfield minutes, as he won't take the entire time that Nash was in there. I think that'll be split pretty evenly between Cam McKenzie and Josh Ward, as well as a bit of Huswaite there. So, but yeah, he's big body. He's really clean with his hands, despite being 195 centimetres, and he looks quite lumbersome how he runs around the park, but he just has a knack of finding the footy. So they'll chuck him in there at spurts. I'll probably play him up forward a little bit as well. I don't think he's a sub type. I think Giath, is that perfect sub if they keep him in that role. I can't see Ginnivan getting back into the side. He kicked 4 goals in 22 touches, but they all came sort of late in the game and were cheap out the backs, or you got one high free kick, which is very standard Ginnivan. And so I don't think he gets recalled. He might for Bruce. I thought Bruce was pretty average on Easter Monday, and it's a pretty short week for him. Obviously the 6-day break. Doesn't have to travel anywhere, so that probably helps in his favour. But Bruce, I think, is not a best 22. He's a perfect sub candidate, but it might be a good week to give him a week off and send him back down to the VFL if they do want to bring Ginnivan in. I'm mindful that might not happen though.
Huswaite at 121k mid in Supercoach. So I know a lot of us picked him at the start of last year. He had a really good preseason and then didn't make the round 1 team, I don't think, and struggled to break in. Obviously, there's a lot of good midfielders there, but yeah, maybe a couple of spots available now with some injuries and suspensions. And over to the Eagles for the last game of the round. So we definitely a couple of names we're looking out for here. Matt Flynn is named in the number 1 ruck role, and I can't see Bailey Williams anywhere. There's Jack Williams on the bench, but so I think that should give us the all clear to go ahead and bring in Matt Flynn. And just, he obviously had a few things go his way last week with Essendon's ruck injury situation, but he did score very well, and hopefully he can at least stay in the team for another few weeks and make us some money. So I'm planning on bringing him in this week, and a couple of our rookie types as well. We've got Tommy Gross, who was unfortunately named a sub last week. I put him in anyway, thinking, well, he might play. He only needs to score 30 to make 50 grand, and he didn't get on till there's about 10 minutes left in the game, but hopefully he gets a full game this week. Elijah Hewitt, definitely. I wouldn't think there's any chance of him missing out or being the sub after he was fantastic last week. And some people even are talking about bringing him in this week. I think he's 188k. So if you're really desperate for someone cheap, or cheapish, I guess, he's probably not quite cheap enough for me to help me do the trades I need to do, but he should score okay for the next few weeks and make some money, you would think. And Tim Kelly probably out is the most interesting one, but not be in too many Supercoach teams.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Tim Kelly obviously injured or named injured, but that obviously opens up a midfield role, whether it is Gross or it's Hewitt getting more minutes in there. But yeah, Oscar Allen in as well. I know that's not SuperCoach relevant, but he returns to play hopefully his new side for next year, and that would be nice. But it's no real frills about this side. It's good to see Marriage named down back again. He's having a great year. He's almost. I think you're trying to get rookies off field first, but his break even's creeping up there a little bit. So it'd be nice if he pumps out a 120 and sort of resets that a little bit. But outside of that, pretty SuperCoach irrelevant players outside of the rookies. And Flynn, I forgot about Flynn.
Yeah, Flynn obviously a massive one, but no Clay Hall, I noticed either, even on the extended bench. So stiff if you picked him, and he disappeared pretty quickly even after he put up some decent scores. I thought, all right, well, that's all the teams done. Not a huge amount of news from a SuperCoach point of view, but we will be watching those final teams late on Friday pretty closely, so keep an eye out for all the news around those and all the SuperCoach social channels, and we'll get to your questions and some captains in a second. But Foz, it's time for the best bet of the week. Thanks to Better. What have you got for us?
Well, I'm going tomorrow's game, Anzac Day, the official Anzac Day match. And there's a lot of talk about Nick Dacos and winning the medal. Or, he's a great SuperCoach vice captain or captain option tomorrow. But I'm looking at Bobby Hill, and I reckon there's great value. And he's great on the big stage. I think there's a little bit of rain forecast as well, so I think that plays into his hands as a pretty classy small forward, and the ball's going to be on the ground a fair bit. And also Essendon's back six is historically really bad against small forwards. So I'm backing in Bobby Hill. 3 goals is paying $4. I feel like that's good value.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Anzac Eve game tonight. Just as I said earlier, looking at some of those matchup numbers, and Richmond and I think Melbourne actually gives up the most SuperCoach points to midfielders of any team. Richmond maybe second or third worst. So neither of them tag. I think it'll be a bit of a free for all in there tonight. So I'm backing Christian Petrarca to have 25 touches, which he's done pretty much every game this year, and he's back in the centre bounces. Tim Taranto had 35 last week, so we'll put him down for 25 tonight. And Clary, I think, is on for a big one. He always loves playing the Tigers. 30 plus for him. You can get $4.80 for all of that. So not massive odds, but I think, it's pretty good buying there. And just a little sneaky one that I noticed too, thinking more long term, you can get $3.50 at Better for Carlton to make the 8. Obviously, they've been
not bad. I mean, they can't beat decent teams, which makes it hard. But if they turn it around, that's good value.
Well, it might be longer after the
Geelong game.
So we'll
big if.
Wait on that. But that caught my eye as well. So, is that message coming up? There it is. What's the correct wording? Here we go. What is gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website, the number 1-800-858-858, and the website gamblinghelponline.org.au. Hang on. What's Dossie put in here? He's put a Chiefs captain's graphic, but he's just done that for the 1 week only. But we'll pick some captains before getting to your questions. You talked about Anzac Day. I'm bringing in Nick Dacos this week. I think I have to put the VC on him based on that, on obviously how he's been scoring in recent weeks. But after that, there's a couple of options. I mean, Andy Brayshaw has been scoring really well. And then Tom de Koning, who I've seen a couple of people potentially trading him out this week as a way to get Matt Flynn in. But I definitely wouldn't be doing that because he's coming up against Geelong. Reece Stanley, maybe a little bit of a tougher matchup than if his brother was rucking. Sam de Koning, but I still think, Tommy could have a really big game against the Cats. But who do you like for a captain this week?
Yeah, I've brought in Dacos and the VC straight on him there. It hurt not having him last week, and I sat there going, all right, hopefully he slows down a little bit now. I don't want to spend more than $600K on him, but I pulled the trigger. You've got to have him. So I think on the biggest stage of the calendar for Collingwood, outside of finals, is Anzac Day, and he loves playing on big stages. So I'm going Dacos VC, and then going a slightly different one. So I've been a little bit disappointed with my captaincy calls in recent weeks. I had Caleb's wrong last week, and he only scored 102. I had Jack McRae for 70 the week before, so I haven't been that consistent with it, and it's hurt my rankings. But I'm leaning towards, if Dacos fails me, I'm going to go Nazaya Wanganeen Malira. He dipped below 100 for the first time this season with a 99 on the weekend. So the floor is there. But also, I just think that he's obviously that primary ball user off half back, and he's been really he's pumping out 120s and 150. I'm happy to take a 115 if Dacos fails me, but he's an uber consistent scorer, and I just need a bit of consistency in my life at the moment.
Yeah, fair. Brisbane not the easiest matchup, but as you say, even games
Ball's going to be down there a lot. Ball's going to be down there a lot.
He hasn't done a whole lot. He still manages to find a way to get to, you say 90 or just over the 100. And then if he's been getting down, kicking some goals, and he can pump up, boost that ceiling up as well. So don't mind that. All right, let's try and just get to a few questions before we wrap things up and get into the and go and watch the Tigers in the big game tonight. But who have we got? There's first question here. Is it worth trading in Matt Carroll? I think that is a very easy one. We'll tick that off. I'll better get the screen first. We'll say yes to that, Big Wilbur. For Trainer, yeah. So, we're basically both advocating that, aren't we? You can trade out Luke Trainer now, make 100, 150 grand and bring in Carroll.
I'd be trading him out. I just think that he's not going to make a whole heap more cash from here. And I've gone to Carroll. So I just think that that's the natural move there. It's a hard one if Carroll is omitted. Or is the sub, but I think that's just the move. He might score 80 and it might be great for him, but who knows?
And similar question here from Jules, Reid or Trainer. So I think we're both in the Trainer camp. Reid obviously didn't do a whole lot last week, especially against the Eagles. I thought he'd score a lot, but at least he's got a low. I think his break even still under 20. So hopefully he can put out a decent score this week and still has a bit more cash to make. Whereas Trainer, as you say, because of that really low score, and he scored 2 points last week as the sub, it's going to take a while. Even if he gets his break even tonight, which he could, he won't really make any money. And then next week, he might make $5,000 or something, and then you wait another 3 or 4 weeks and his cash starts rolling again. Whereas Reid hopefully could make 20, 30, 40 grand over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep, 100%. Agree with all that.
Yep. This is an interesting question. Are you bringing in Matt Flynn this week? Jamie asking, would you bring him in if you had to stick him at R3? If you've already got 2 decent rucks and you've got Max Gawn in flex like he does, there's not really an obvious way to get him on the field. He's 260 grand too much to spend if he's just sitting on the bench.
I remember doing this a few years ago, and I think it was whether it was Briggs or Mark Pitton out of the Blues or someone at about 200, and they made like 200 grand, and it was awesome. Yeah. But it's just a lot of money to spend to whack on your bench and not see. And I think what also changes for West Coast is in this scenario is that we thought Flynn was the number 1 ruck, and if it was the start of the season, having him at R3, it would work. But he played a game, got dropped, had to dominate in the waffle, and then got brought back in. So I know that Bailey Williams isn't named on the extended bench or isn't a chance of being a laid in or anything, but it just scares me that the fact that Flynn's already been dropped once this year. So I personally wouldn't. If you're just going to sit him on the bench, you don't want to stash 320 grand by this time next week in a bench player that's not playing and not rolling in cash. But it's an interesting question with Boyd also not making cash. So, who knows? Yeah,
I think I did the same thing last year with Jordan Sweet, and that worked. And it played in my favour because he was dropped or injured or something after a week or two, and a lot of people were caught out, but I just had him on the bench. So it didn't really hurt me, but he was probably 150 grand rather than 260. So it's just like that cash is points that you're sort of giving up somewhere else. So it's a tricky one. I'd probably pass on him if you've got all those big rucks, but it's something you could consider. Another Flynn-related question here from Marzet. Would you trade Nevitt and Clay Hall to get Flynn and Carroll? I think that's you tick that off pretty quickly, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Similar
no comments.
About the bench, upgrade Boyd to Flynn. So you're basically paying $160,000 to do that. I don't think I'd go that far.
No, I wouldn't be doing it either. Once again, I think it's the same as the last one. Or I just think it's just too much money to sit on your bench.
Yeah, and Boyd, a chance to come back in at some stage. We're on Marshall, and not ideal for the Saints. And Marshall and Steele are the two who are sort of really battling at the moment. But I guess they missed a chunk of preseason. But it wouldn't shock me if Boyd gets a game at some stage. Now we're both bringing in Dacos. this did cause me a lot of consternation during the week. I don't have any really, I don't have a Bailey Humphrey or someone who was a really obvious sort of trade out to bring him in. So I'm trading Finn Callahan, which I held Finn for the last couple of weeks when a lot of people traded him, and he was good last week for me. But I sort of feel like he's not going to be a top 8 mid. So, it's probably not ideal, but I didn't really have anyone else. But I'm not sure how you're getting Dacos. And would you trade Bailey Dale if that was the only way to do it?
I'm big on not trading your I want to get the rookies off the field ASAP, but I think it's fine to get out those guys that are sort of sitting on the the edge, like your Finn Callahans. I traded Kieran Briggs this week to get in Dacos. It was what a disaster that was. So I think it's fine to an extent, but once you the thing with Dale is he can pump out a 130 any given week. So that's the one thing I'd worry about. You might even be downgrading Dale to Dacos for this round. Who knows? So that's the one worry that I have with it. I'm personally, I want to get my rookies off the field, but that's the one thing to consider, I guess.
And you're sort of in the broader picture of it, you're not really getting closer to a finished team because you would have been picking Dale to keep for the whole year, even if he ends up being your D5 or D6. And you're swapping him to Dacos, who obviously is going to be a keeper. I suppose I'm sort of justifying it to myself by thinking I was probably going to trade Finn Callahan at some stage. So it's not an extra trade that I wasn't already banking on. But I'm not going to talk anyone out of it because I was sort of prepared to do whatever I had to do to get him. And I did at one stage even look at Clayton Oliver, but then I looked at the fixture and realised Melbourne plays Richmond this week and West Coast next week. So, probably not the great week to trade him out. A couple of quick ones before we wrap up. James asking, is it time to trade Foz? Finn O'Sullivan, I think, yes. I mean, he's made about 20 grand, 25 grand in 5 or 6 weeks. Just not putting up the scores that we need to be a real money maker in terms of rookie and SuperCoach. So I don't think there's any reason to hang on to him at this stage.
No, I think it's time has come and gone to get Foss out. So I'll be fine cashing in and getting someone on the bubble and getting that cash gen going again. Yeah,
absolutely. Quick one, we'll just finish off with Anton saying Tunstall or Carroll. I think you just have to pick Carroll because he's playing this week. Well, we hope he's playing. We'll find out about 5 o'clock tomorrow. But that's his 3rd game, so he will go up in value, even if it's not by a huge amount. Whereas Tunstall, his value won't change this week. He needs to play a 3rd game, so we want to make sure he's at least named for game number 3 before we commit. Because just that Brisbane side, he's right on the fringe. And as you say, he could, even if he plays, he's very good chance to be the sub.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards just get the guy that's on the bubble. Don't want to be bringing in a rookie that's still got to play 2 games before he makes any cash. So that's just the golden rule of SuperCoach, I guess. The one golden 100%. Rule of SuperCoach.
And Matty Carroll, 99K as well. So as cheap as they come. So probably you don't want to be putting him on the field if you can avoid it. He's just a really nice little bench player who's a sort of Connor Stone style. If he can score his 50, 60 points each week and just be a backup if we need him and make a bit of money. That's all we need. So, it's really about freeing up the cash. So I think that's the obvious move this week. But I think that just about wraps us up. Foz, anything you want to add before a huge Anzac Day round of footy?
No, just go footy. How good is it?
It isn't bad so far. It's going all right when the Tigers have a win. So hopefully we can do it again tonight. But I'll be tuning in very closely to that and we'll have a live blog. So watch that and follow all the SuperCoach socials across the weekend for all your latest SuperCoach news. And we'll talk to you again very soon.